Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. But good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome back to Rec Room in London. And this particular scene, excuse me, Mr. Goodman has invited Mr. Irons to the gardens of Elysium to discuss what they saw a few nights prior and possibly inform the people that need to know what they found. And also, due to Iron's most recent arrival at the city, and introduce him to the prince, because he has been so kind to be available to all the people of London these past few nights. He waits at the entrance to the garden, looking for Irons, eyes shifting left and right.
Yeah, pretty much on the dot in the time that Mr. Goodman had asked Marcus to show up. He will see Mr. Irons in his, although very simple, clean clothes, new boots. Um, he will also see that Marcus, different to the picture down here, is freshly shaven. Um, he comes closer, seems to be just casually looking around, almost as if he's not trying to give away that he's scanning the area, until his eyes fall upon his acquaintance, friend, benefactor. Yes, benefactor. This is the most accurate description at the moment. He sees him, waves to him, and his walking speed increases almost to marching speed as he comes directly to the gangrel. Good evening, Mr. Goodman.
Evening Irons, and they'll present his hand for a shake.
Marcus will take the hand. It is cold. The grip is that of, average strength, about 2 dots.
And
But he looks Mr. Goodman in the eyes as he shakes his hand.
so, so if we move quickly, we should hopefully run into the prince before he leaves to, well, wherever he goes.
Yes, yes. Whew. Okay, let's do this.
And we'll begin riding the elevator upwards.
Dum, 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 dum,
An
dum,
elevator,
dum.
sorry?
I thought the garden's on the top floor.
You're not in the rooftop gardens. The Elysium currently is taking place in the Kensington Gardens proper.
Oh, okay.
The private gardens of Kensington Palace. The palace itself is also an Elysium. They're considered one very large Elysium. Uh,
That wasn't my mistake. Then no, we'll just begin walking in and search in the area to see if the prince is having at least a public appearance right now.
yeah, you walk through the gardens. They are large. They are opulent beyond imagining. This is literally work literally made for kings and queens. Uh, it is an absolutely beautiful sight and incorporates flora from all over the world. Um, and both mortal and kindred alike enjoy the view. Although the mortals, the vessels of this evening, seem less concerned about the sights and more concerned with whoever is biting into their flesh. The prince is not particularly hard to find. In fact, it is not hard to imagine where a prince would be. Obviously, within the palace. But he is busy conversing with many different people, a seneschal right in tow. But eventually he separates. He moves between from group to group, talking to kindred both big and small, titled and untitled, young and old, dangerous and innocuous. until eventually he finds you as much as you find him. He sort of flips from group to group, kind of like a butterfly. And starts heading on over towards you, noticing you in particular, Mr. Irons.
Marcus will reflexively dry swallow. Not that there really is any saliva to swallow down, but older habits die hard.
Ah, I remember you, the stranger that smelt of piss, blood, and burning resentment. How are you this evening?
Perfectly fine, not smelling of piss or gin, and no resentment was around, Your Majesty. And he gives a full bow.
He sniffs once. Well, 2/3 of that was true. Goodman?
So, Prince.
He eyes you warily.
And when I noticed that his eyes are doing that, there is a mild frown on his face in response.
My Mr. Goodman, are you upset? Have I done something to anger you?
I am not sure, my prince.
This is the part where you ask if you have done something to anger me, but we'll skip over that question, considering you seem to like the initiative. Who have you brought before me? Who is this gentleman?
This is Marcus Irons, a new arrival in London, and he respects the traditions. That's why he's meeting you this day.
He looks to you. Marcus, and I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
Oh. Okay, so first I'm going to ask is do you have malicious intentions for this domain?
I take it those are out of character questions, right?
These are out of character questions.
Okay. No.
Okay. Has your character been accepted into a domain before? Has Marcus been accepted into a domain officially before?
No.
My final question, and you can put this in your character channel. What is Marcus's darkest secret? You don't have to answer this publicly. You can put that in your character.
I'll put it in right now. Just a sec.
Mm-hmm. While you're typing, the prince will. Are you still bowed?
There you go. He will have bowed, straightened himself up, but kept his eyes basically at the prince's feet. He's not making direct eye contact until he's asked to do so.
Okay. No, he makes a kind of a hasty
Subservient.
gesture for you to rise, as if you remaining bowed, kind of as if he just makes as if it bothers him in some sense.
Okay,
come on.
he
There's-
straightens up.
There's
Eyes
no
down.
respect earned in groveling.
He will then level his eyes to eye level.
There we go. So, Mr. Irons, I see that you are very new to our customs and to our society in general. May I ask, why is it that you have come here? What is it that brings you to London? Of course, I can only imagine many reasons. It is a very beautiful, successful, and venerable city.
The prince can see that behind the eyes, the gears are turning, a decision is being made. A very gentle intake of air is done as he slowly exhales. Fleeing a cruel and capricious sire.
He actually does that thing twice, with those long gaps I used. But he gives you another fairly lengthy pause before going on. I see. Well, that is a shame to see that your embrace was so rough and tumble. But I see you've weathered it well, soldiered through it.
The hint of a smile cracks at the corners of his mouth.
So, to what lineage or clan do you belong? Are you aware, or is that something? We would have our court magician resolve for you?
I am indeed of Clan Ventrue.
Ah, it's a shame. We don't actually have a court magician. Well, we do, but they don't do those sorts of things.
And my sire called himself Sir Alsop.
Make me a wits empathy roll, both of you.
Oh no. No, whatever. I'll roll the chance dice. Surely.
Yeah, I was gonna say minus 4 fucking dice, because yeah, he's pretty good at keeping his shit together.
No, my wits is only 1. I have no empathy. So
It's either minus his subterfuge rating or his status rating, and I'm deciding to be generous. We're so used to Psychic Bot.
we've been using it for over 5 years.
Yeah.
And I still use it in other channels too.
One success.
It would be minus 4 dice, because
well,
very-
zero dice in that case. No successes.
what you get is a chance dice.
Okay.
A chance dice is basically a 1 is an automatic dramatic failure. You do not get to choose whether or not you take a dramatic failure. A 10 is a success. It's a standard success. You don't get to exploit the 10. And anything else is just a standard failure. Of course, you can always choose to spend willpower and get 3 extra dice.
Okay, what's up with this dice roller chastising people? Quit that.
It hates me.
Okay. Yeah, Prince doesn't Prince, there is nothing more than a glint of recognition that you see across his face. Ah, I see. Curious.
Curious, Your Majesty?
Yes. I haven't heard that name in many years. Man tends to travel. Didn't know he'd been up and about again. It was a shame. I did love our talks. I suppose that answers another one of my questions. I assume you are with the Dracul, the Ordo
Yes,
of the
Your
Dragons,
Majesty.
the whatever it is you also call yourselves. You have a lot of names and a lot of titles.
That is true.
I'm proud to say I even understand a few of them.
He just nods.
Although I do question your company among them, but that is neither here nor there. But I believe you still have not adequately answered my question. Why have you come to my domain? What is it you seek here?
A safe haven?
Oh, anybody could. You could find a safe haven anywhere, my boy. Why London? Why come to London for safe haven?
Your Majesty, I went by the logic that predators always need a certain amount of prey, and since London has undoubtedly the biggest population, I thought I just might be lucky enough to find some subsection.
Ah, but do you understand the competition you must face? Where there is plentiful prey, there are plentiful predators, no? Many kindred have come here with the same idea that you have.
That is true. I guess a certain amount of desperation drove me here. Plus, I thought I might be able to better dive into the crowd and become invisible in that sense. Where there are great amounts of people, less people care than in a small village where everyone knows each other.
This is very true. This is very true. The masquerade, ironically, holds up better under the scrutiny of mass media and large populations than it ever has, under the watchful eyes of a few. But I can only assume that is not all. After all, safe haven, regular food, feeding grounds to call your own, these are very base things. Surely you thirst for more? Please tell me.
My family hails from London. Putney, to be precise. So a certain amount of nostalgia, you could say, has driven me back somewhere I know to a certain extent. What I would be able to achieve here in this city depends very much on the goodwill of those older, stronger, and more influential than I am. But I'm more than happy to make myself useful.
Ah, yes. Fortunately for you, your type is in demand. And a fresh face has yet to make any serious mistakes. So while you may be unproven, you are also unblemished, as opposed to some. In addition, I must say, I am quite partial to your covenant. It is known for housing many, many inquisitive and more academic members of my clan. It is a very respected and reliable institution, for the most part. You are quite fortunate. The Invictus and the Ordo have been in partnership for a great many years within this domain.
There is the gentlest of exhaling happening.
Oh, don't sign relief yet, boy. Other than the fact that, well, it's unnecessary. After all, while you are unblemished, and I am partial, does not mean I am charitable. Tell me, my boy, what do you know about revenants?
A few nights ago, the very basics were explained to me. That they tend to be exsanguinated victims of kindred that, for whatever reason, arise similar to our condition, but far more aggravated. It would seem that their beast demands feeding far more often than ours. Of course, being thus facilitating the nature of being masquerade breaches and a big pain in our backside. And also that under the right circumstances, they can be embraced into being proper kindred. That is all I have gathered so far.
I see. Well, you are in luck. Because very sadly for these revenants, they exist outside, or have chosen to exist outside the jurisdiction of the court. This has led to a great many problems, and a great many breaches of our laws. Now, a good friend of mine has been looking into the matter on my behalf. Unfortunately for him, I have not heard from him in quite some time. Should you investigate this matter for me? And pick up where my friend left off, or perhaps, if they are still alive, cooperate in their investigation, I may see fit to grant you residence, may even offer you an oath of serfdom to one of the landlords, although your covenant is quite well situated. I don't think that will be necessary.
Would your majesty have any clue or know where last the track went cold?
Why, yes. Why don't we step into my office to discuss the matter in more detail?
Yes, Your Majesty. And he'll follow.
He doesn't. He pats you on the shoulder, Julian. He disappears from view, as does the prince.
What was that? It was blatant.
Marcus, you feel a sudden segregation from the world. You feel somewhat cut off from it, more alone. It's almost like the noise you're hearing kind of blends into the background awkwardly and abruptly. You can still hear people clearly, but it's almost like it feels more distant from you.
There is a certain tensing in his being, but nothing aggressive.
The prince finds a small side table, beautifully ornate. Everything in this palace is beyond excess in how opulent it is. To say you look woefully out of place is an understatement.
Oh,
But
he
they're
feels
also-
like a total imposter at this point.
There are many kindred like you who look woefully out of place, but seem to have struck on some sort of theme or style or fashion to themselves. So they look out of place in the palace, but they seem to fit in with the crowd that they're socializing with. There are many people here with punk jackets and like leather trousers, and some wearing like just vests and exposing all of their tattoos. There are others with long coats and
Yeah, the way Marcus is dressed, he would more look like prey somewhere in the middle of the street of London than amongst predators.
Yeah, nobody has voluntarily, apart from a few Nosferatu who have sort of played into their own physical deformities. You're the only person outside of them who has really chosen to look as to how you look.
But arguable.
Okay, it wasn't a fashion choice. It was just a sort of.
He literally just
The
got
lack of
clothing
wardrobe.
that exactly a lack of wardrobe and literally going into a charity shop and just getting the cheapest that he could without looking like a token idiot.
Some people do notice, Julian, how the prince and this new person disappears, but they don't really seem particularly fazed by it. There's a slight smirk of amusement on some of their faces. A couple of people seem besmirked, but other than that, there isn't a particularly strong reaction. Most people are very used to this, very accepting of it.
Hey, yo, man. Only matters to us, not him.
Mm-hmm. The prince finds a side table and takes a seat. Julian, you and everybody else sees a chair move, but nobody is touching it.
Would we notice the chair moving, or would we just notice that the chair happened to move?
You notice the chair. You would notice the chair has moved.
Okay. Because
Marcus, when you go to sit with him, if you choose, everybody else will recognize that the chair also moves.
Okay, cool.
But you are not seen.
He's going along with it. This is the prince. He's not trying to put one toe out of line.
So, on to official business. Well, I suppose this whole affair has been official business, but I'd like to think it was also a bit of a social affair, and we can get to know each other as gentlemen.
That would be my pleasure, sir. I beg your pardon, Your Majesty.
Ah, you catch on fast. You do not need to be so concerned. I am not as some of the more traditionalists within my covenant who insist even to the youngest among us that we must be called such things.
In that case, I would like to go.
Obviously,
In that case,
exception.
yeah. Yes. In that case, I would like to go with Sir.
I was just going
was
to
in
say,
the
obviously,
military
exceptions
after
can be
all.
made for the youngest among us. I wouldn't expect you to understand to call me such a thing. Your understanding is appreciated. Of course, my prince works just as well and is perhaps more accurate, but it is whatever as you wish. It's far more generous than what the Carthians call me, I'll tell you that.
Oh well, I guess that's their problem.
That very much is. Sad evening for them.
After
But
all,
even
the
they
love
are here
book-
celebrating the festivities, feasting on our hard-earned labours. Certainly was not theirs. But anywho, I have a servant I am particularly fond of. He is the one who I requested look into this revenant phenomena outside of the sheriff and his archons, of course.
Mhm.
His name is Alonso.
Marcus produces this time a notebook and starts jotting down notes.
Mm-hmm.
Alonso. Gotcha. Could you give me a description of how he looks like?
Yes. He gives you a fairly in-depth description, sort of not, an Italian man with kind of hair that goes down to his neck. A very sort of very fine beard and goatee. Looks fairly tan, Mediterranean complexion.
Mm-hmm. Greco-Roman type.
A fine suit, much like mine, but not quite as well tailored. Granted, I do employ a David for these things.
They tend to be the right kindred for such jobs.
And she is absolutely stunning with a needle.
I'm sure she is. And he's noting down. If the prince looks more precisely at the notes, Marcus is using shorthand.
Yes, she could have murdered a man with it if she so wished. In fact, she probably has, given her temperament. But I digress. Alonso was looking into this minor phenomena for me. Given that we have had a small surge in their populations recently, given the sloppiness from certain sects of kindred that I shall not name here. But he went missing about a few nights prior to this Elysium. Has not gotten in touch, rather. I hesitate to say missing. I'm considering it as such, but it's not necessarily true. He was investigating the matter for me. 1 second, let me actually find it, because I keep forgetting these bloody bars. He was checking into Kingston upon Thames, the town in particular.
Okay. Very good.
borders the territory of your covenant and the Carthians. You can see why I believe it would be interest to you, and why I would choose you for this task. You would have
I
an
have
easier
been-
time
yes.
getting around, as it were.
That is true. That is true. Okay, interesting. How fortunate that one of my fellows was so nice to station me into the Ordo territory. Very good.
Yes, yes.
You wouldn't happen to have a territory map. Sadly, I haven't got a good enough idea of who is where at the moment. To my chagrin.
Well, I believe that is something that can be provided to you. I do not have it on my person at this time.
No problem. Can always be picked up later.
Of
Okay,
course,
good.
of course. It pays to know your way around. I would hate for you to get lost.
Absolutely. Do I assume correctly that the Revenants are subterranean, that they like to stay in the underground and similar subterranean structures of the city?
We have noted that many of them are forming burrows underground, yes.
Pardon me if I am so forthright, but at a recent small gathering with a few other kindred, while we were at a certain tube station, myself, Miss Natalia Belenko, I think is the family name.
Yes, the good Lady Belenko.
Yes, of the Invictus, and I couldn't help but smell
Our
the big
newest
pool of
champion.
yes. And we discovered that in one of the tunnels, the restricted areas, we had come across two kindred that were dragging away a mortal who was heavily dazed. They seemed to have been feeding quite sloppily of the mortal, and as soon as we had crossed the bend, they maybe it was some variation of protean, I would guess, or maybe animalism, but I've never seen anything like this before. Spitting blood right in front of our ground, and then a swarm of rats coming. But
Are you not
yes.
Ventru?
Alas, my abilities with animals are still very much at a beginner's level.
Well, we all start from somewhere. It is quite all right. In time, I am sure you will come to rival even the masters of your kind.
Very charitable of you. Thank you.
Well, your clan is known for desiring much yet never wanting for anything.
Who knows?
A story of
Maybe.
success if I've ever heard one. I am sure you will emulate them well.
Oh, well,
A change in attire would be a good start.
for that I have to acquire resources, and before I do that I have to figure out what areas I can cultivate without stepping on too many toes.
But that is the great game, figuring out what you can get away with and when, and then using that as a tool to get more. There are always more walls to overcome. Many of them you will find to be kindred that see themselves your betters.
Well,
That may sound quite confusing coming from the prince.
not to me. You're a man of keen intellect, and I know a political player when I see them. Remind me of some of the generals I used to have to deal with.
Then you may yet be a threat I have to consider.
No.
I jest. If I wanted you dead,
thank goodness.
well, trust me, I
Yes,
have a sheriff for those things.
If I were so suicidal to
It
try
would
and
be.
move against you, I would have met the sun long before this meeting.
Yes, and that would have been the third beheading we would have had this Elysium. I suppose it is the magic number. But yes.
No, if
I
I
cannot-
can get to the equivalent of a Jarl, I'll count myself happy enough.
But your venom spitting friend, yes. If I recall, it is an advanced act of animalism. A discipline native to your clan and the Gangrel.
That is true.
And quite a powerful little trick, not something people can easily escape from, even for Kindred. A powerful user, an experienced user of the power, could probably send animals after you for nights on end. Vast quantities of them as well, depending on what they decide to throw at you.
It was literally a wall of rats. It
Ah,
was
yes.
quite impressive.
A popular choice, a very popular choice. He looks down, and something about rats irritates him, but you don't really know why. But his facial expression just kind of swaps back to the jovial way in which he's been dealing with you. But yes, Alonso, my Italian friend. I can't tell you what he knows because he has not checked in. However,
Has he got any other associates, people I could interview, for the lack of a better word?
I sent him into this. I guess you could
solo
say
mission.
solo. I did not wish to compromise his position. Groups of people can attract a lot of attention, even those that look innocuous or act innocuous. And trust me, Alonso, well, given what he was looking for, would not have been innocuous.
Understood. Solo mission, locate target. And he basically is just sort of quietly talking to himself. It is very clear to the prince that he's dealing with somebody who might have done similar missions like that in the past.
His haven was towards the center of the domain of Kingston.
Understood.
It was nothing more than the bare essentials, of course. It rested along Canbury Park Road. Rented accommodation.
Understood. Rented accommodation. That
Paid
is
for the next couple of
probably-
years, of course.
Yeah. Still, there might be a landlord I could interview and see if they have
yes.
seen him. Good.
Well, we made sure the landlord was was dealt with quite thoroughly, so that is not something I believe will be of particular interest to you.
Understood.
My suggestion would be to locate where he last was, or visit his haven and see what you can discover. Those would be my suggestions. I remember when I used to go on missions like these. Quite the Pandora's box. Never know what you would find.
Yes.
Always good to
Especially,
start with what
yeah.
your superior is most intimately familiar with.
That is true. Well, in that case, I'd be more than happy to help you out with this. Obviously, I can't give any guarantees apart from I'll try my best. I've got the feeling this is going to be a Spartan mission. Either I come back with my shield or on my shield.
Well, if nothing else, you are young enough that there will be a body to mourn. It is more solace than most of us get. If nothing else, know that you will be celebrated.
Could I ask for one favor? Might I equip myself with some equipment for self-defense, for the lack of a better word? I am sadly lacking in that aspect at the moment.
Hmm. But are you not a Ventru? You have all the tools you need. He taps his head.
If you're okay with that, I guess I could go a less savory route and acquire them. I've just been trying to keep a low profile so far.
Whatever means you wish, so long as they remain within the traditions and the masquerade. I like to think of myself as a progressive man.
Understood. Then I shall acquire those things before I head out.
And know that if you are successful, you will be rewarded most generously. I would not ask you to perform an action without some sort of feedback in return. That would be most rude.
Spoken like a man of honor.
The Invictus honors oaths and debts both. It is built on it, was shaped by it, and it will continue to flourish under it. An Invictus who breaks his word. There's no Invictus at all.
Any sentient being that breaks his word is worth nothing but contempt.
Ah. We missed an opportunity in you, I see.
So I've been told.
Fortunate that you are with the second best option.
Oh, better second best than not at all, I guess.
Well, with our business sorted, I shall be off. It was a pleasure meeting you. Always happy to meet new faces. Even better to see them walk out of Elysium in one piece.
Agreed, sir.
And he will go to shake your hand.
Yeah. Marcus will give him the firmest 2-dot strength handshake that he can, and also looking him in the eyes while doing that.
He'll shake your hand, and then he will take a napkin out of his hand, and he'll say, "Oh then, it was a pleasure, but I have business to attend to. Good evening."
Good evening, Your Majesty.
And you, Marcus, reappear.
I walk back to Julian.
In a sort of, it's not like you pop back in existence, but it's more like
phasing.
Your form, yes, it kind of sort of fades. It's like the light kind of bends around you and reforms you. And everybody can see you reappear. The prince, however, is nowhere to be seen, and you can no longer see him either.
That's fine.
Excellent timing, though. As Julian, Marcus is reapproaching. You've seen him appear from nowhere, although the prince is still nowhere to be seen.
Well, he didn't kill you, so.
He's given me my first mission, but I'll give you the details when less ears are listening and less eyes are watching.
Aye.
So, shall we go somewhere where we're a little bit more private?
He nods. I don't see anybody else that needs to talk to me here.
You say that. There are still 2 people around in the palace.
Out of character, we could bump into them while looking for a quiet place to talk.
Well, they're kind of leaning over sort of the banister over a sort of yeah, basically they're leaning over a railing on the banister.
Are they looking at us?
Yes, they are.
Well, I guess with noting that, he'll turn himself to the two ladies and with a and does a hand gesture as if he were doffing his cap to them, although no cap or hat is around.
As you approach, both women will curtsy to the both of you. The youngish, Asian-looking woman in her mid-20s, fairly small, shorter than you both. Bows to a lesser extent than her compatriot.
Good evening, ladies.
Good evening. I have heard from Delphine here. That you are to join our chapter here. One of our many chapters.
I'm planning to do that in due course. Yes.
I am Kotono Mukai. I am the Kogon of the Jakul here. And a
At that
companion
point,
of
he
the
gives her a
axe.
full, yeah. At that point, he gives her a full bow.
Mm-hmm. You would understand a companion of the axe is basically the highest ranking one can attain within the Sworn of the Axe.
Oh yeah, that's why the full bow.
Yeah. Basically, I am both president and general.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
When she says that, seeing her, there's no hesitation. There is just almost a look of are you serious? Because like it can't be helped when she says that.
She one second.
Could I add that after the bow, Marcus says, Marcus Irons, neophyte tyrant, at your service.
A supplicant or slave?
Supplicant.
Good. Then neither of us need spend our time on the earliest of lessons. I overheard your conversation with the prince.
So much for having an office.
Pardon?
No, you just hear
What
Julian
is-
under his breath, like, so much for having an office.
She chuckles in a way that in a way that is strangely innocent. she simply says, "Well, the prince and I are clan. We understand each other quite well. I suppose you could say it is in our nature. We both like to pry."
And then when she says they're a clan and she's with the companion of the axe, the companion of the axe. Uh, there is just another flabbergasted look on his face.
And that's why I have a lot of respect for the maquette. Because you never know if they're not in some corner.
The woman standing by Delphine, standing next to Kogon Kunai, does let's just say, "My dear Dr. Goodwin, you seem so shocked, troubled. Does the presence of our leader intimidate you this much?"
I I cannot deny the other members of the axe that I've seen, her being our, what's the word I'm looking for? Being, yeah, he'll actually use this term, being our alpha is just physically unexpected.
Her eyes glint at you, and she gives you a smile that could be considered nothing other than predatory.
Marcus's eyes just sort of dart to Julian, and he just makes a hand sign like "don't," but it's too late. The words already came
Her
out.
teeth, when she smiles at you, gleam. And she says, "Well, I do pride myself on being full of surprises."
He knows, he feels the edge in her voice. But his response is relaxed, not in an arrogant way, more in a open way, so just general honesty. But
And a
he'll put
true predator knows to expect the unexpected.
that he nods to that. He does put in and almost in a military gesture, puts a hand over his chest and actually bows to her, and then he'll rise and say, "But you've earned your position, and we are Ordo. We don't give things away."
No, we don't.
So I've been training with, which I can't remember his name. Let's see, what does those notes say? NPCs. Arc. Okay, yeah, I'm just overlooking it now. Yep, there we go. I've been training with. Wait, no. Arc. Where was the list that actually has everything based off the covenant? I lost track of it now.
Pardon?
I thought there was a list of important members separated by covenant.
There's the Rogues Gallery.
Um, it has the people ranking in it, but there actually was a straight up just list of the saying these people are of Ordo, these people are Carthians, these people are that, not their.
Um,
I swear I thought I saw a list, but
no, I don't believe so.
okay then. I forgot the member of the axe I was training with. For
Ah,
I swear the list. Now I'm gonna get it. Now I have to look for it.
no, it's his name was. Let me find it for you. Lenistav, Giorgio Lenistav. He was an ancillor of your clan.
And he will say, "I've been training with Lenistaff."
Ah, good. Yes. He is one worth training with, although his methods are direct.
And he nods. He destroyed my left rib cage when we sparred last.
Yeah, you don't have any injuries left, do you?
No, not from that. I'm just explaining what happened.
Do you have any wounds on you right now?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Like,
Just double checking. I think you did heal it all up.
yeah, I do.
Yes. He's very much a premier archetype of your clan. Tempered for our methods.
And he nods.
He seeks strength, and he has learned how to pursue it. It is a step up from most. He has shown his value many times over in the time that I have come to rule the roost here.
And he nods again. I'm glad to have such a respected teacher then.
Although he does sometimes find that he does sometimes lack the alternate perspective. I find that he is perhaps a little too used to the act of confrontation as a learning experience. He is very, how you would say, extroverted.
I believe that we both understand the phrase, everyone has a plan till they get hit.
And then you have to improvise.
But his lessons do have much value. I am glad that he seems to have taken you under his wing. I would invite you to my gym sometime if you would wish to learn. I am a master of your particular study, Julian.
Yes, ma'am.
There will come a point where to advance, you'll have to learn more than how to simply handle yourself under pressure. It is the first and most important of lessons, perhaps, but it is certainly not the last, and it is not the pathway to mastery. It is simply the first step in climbing a great mountainside with few footholds for failure.
Yes, ma'am. And Julian's responses, and just as bilateral to this conversation, once the, as I say, once the playing field has been properly set, it is that of the utmost respect to her.
Yes. And you, Mr. Irons, or would you prefer to be called Marcus?
Whatever you prefer.
Marcus.
Yes?
You studied the mysteries of the blood.
Just automatically glances around and tries to see if anyone else is like try to hide behind a bush and listen in.
People are trying to eavesdrop. They don't seem to have any fucking clue on what you're talking about. Like blood, beasts. Like, yeah, we all have those. What does that mean? They understand. They hear titles and they're like, okay, that's a thing Lord of Jakul use. Okay, I understand. Sure, yeah.
Okay, fair
They,
enough,
they
fair
like
enough. So
they're eavesdropping, but they don't necessarily understand the context or meaning of what is being said.
that is all he says. AYE. I.
Hmm. It is a shame. There used to be more of your kind here.
And when she says that, there is a small twinge in Julian's body language. Like, oh, that could mean a lot of things right there.
Marcus just looks at him a little confused, as if like, why are you? Yeah, you know, his expression is like, why are you twinging? He's not getting the full extent.
Julian will simply say, and I hope their absence has been a positive, or has been was a pleasant one.
I didn't have a choice in the coil. It was my reward for helping them out.
No, and Julian nods, but he responds, out of all the studies that we have, your path makes people the most nervous. So hearing that there was more of you makes me worry that they might have been asked to leave.
Oh no, nothing so severe. Some, of course, have come and gone for various reasons, which, of course, I could not possibly disclose here without finding an office quite like the prince's. She flashes a very predatory smile to some of the would-be eavesdroppers. It's pleasant but unnerving. You can feel her beast simmer beneath the surface. Like something like something
Like if she wanted to, her beast would be lashing out throughout those would be
yeah,
people.
it's like something it's like something under an immense amount of pressure. Like under some sort of press or vice grip. Um just ready to just explode and burst. In response.
Well, I guess the old adage is true. Not all of wisdom brings joy.
No, no, no. Truth is an uncomfortable thing. This is
Then
something
again,
this is something my clan comes to learn very quickly within their first nights. Truth is not optimistic. It is not pleasant. It is visceral. It is
painful sometimes.
But in this pain, in this darkness, in the darkness, there are many lessons to be learned. That is why so many of my clan cling to the Jakul, because they seek the truth. They seek the darkness above all else, so that they may learn.
When she says that, Julian responds, as I get your metaphor, that wording could be more related to the crone.
There are many of my clan among the crone. They too seek things in the dark places, perhaps a bit more, well, in some ways more literally, in some ways less, but it is mired in superstition, which can cloud one's judgment at times. Although, seeing the results of their labors, I certainly cannot complain.
My sire is a member of the crone, but she doesn't talk much about it.
Yes. I have a child far, far away who is a member of the circle. Quite a different uh, theology they follow, but the circle all the same.
All I've ever heard is the rumors, the horror stories. I don't know the truth
Oh.
of what they are.
There are always horror stories.
But the Crone have a particular flair for the dramatic.
Well,
Only the crone?
an honesty in one's atrocities is more respectable than those who hide it.
Still,
Although
evil
one can
stays
hide the
evil.
truth and share it with others. I suppose it depends on who one shares it with. I have been privy to many things in my time here, and I have not been here that long. The history of this place fascinates me.
Oh, I'm glad that you found these pleasures in your long time living. Or existing, that'd be the proper word. Really long time existing.
Do you feel it?
Depends on what we're feeling.
The power, it bleeds from this place.
And Julian will shake his head. I am more involved with the physical. I know that there was something a few days ago that was bleeding through the city. And I believe you heard me and the doctor's report about that creature.
Yes. I am very curious. I wish to see what the good doctor comes up with. I'm confident she will engineer a solution. This is something of a test for her, you see. I wish to see whether she can manage and deconstruct this threat within the boundaries that have been set for her and that she has set for herself. You did well in managing the threat for her while she was extracted. Although it appears, unlike you, she is yet to understand the value in retaining one's sense of control. She has learned the first lesson, but she has not learned any others. She'll have to overcome this if she wishes to recapture the nest.
I'm sure she can learn it.
Yes. Although I would be cautious. A little bird tells me that a divine intervention is overdue. Fortunate, then, that they have been preoccupied with the tragedy that appears to have struck their home.
As I understand your concern, I am getting tired of talking about them. They seem to be everywhere. But I'll make sure that once we try to interact with that thing again to keep up with my duties.
Yes, yes. Please do so. I have quite an interest in you, Julian. I'm intrigued to see where you will take your talents. You and Isabella both. And now Marcus. Why, this year has been a boon for us. Marcus, there aren't many who share your talents, but you do have a colleague in Miss Thatcher. She
Miss
is
who?
of your blood, and she
Ah,
studies the blood as yourself. Quite well
good to
connected,
know.
although not a master of her particular art. No doubt she could teach you a few interesting tricks.
Hmm.
Perhaps even a few major discoveries. She's not necessarily the most creative woman, but she is an ambitious one.
Seems to be a theme with those of my clan.
The Ventru win, that is what they say.
Hmm.
Less a
Well,
saying and more of an observation, they claim. Although there used to be a Ventru prince. Then again, I suppose they never claimed they could never lose. But I'm rambling. I apologize. I'm glad to have been introduced to you, Marcus. If there is something you require of the Order, contact my child. He's cone fletching. He resides within our largest chapter house.
very good.
If we need to contact me directly, well, you will need to go through him first. I generally prefer not to be disturbed unless it is an extraordinary situation, such as the matter that Dr. Isabella and Julian brought to me about what they had discovered.
Understood. Out of curiosity, are there any facilities that could be used for testing out of a more martial nature?
Yes, I would speak with Lenistav about that. He has many facilities built towards the militant and the physical, and training in the arts of the physical and the militant. I also possess some facilities myself.
Very
Perhaps
good.
I will invite you at some time or another.
I have to warn you, I wasn't really embraced at the height of my physical abilities, so
It is
I'll
no
have to
matter.
see if I can't, in other means, buff
The blood
myself up again.
does not. Many consider the blood to force one into stasis. It is inherently untrue. The blood is always changing, and if you seek to become stronger, the blood will morph you into something stronger.
His eyes widen a little bit, giving away that this is, to a certain degree, news to him.
Just ensure that it is what you desire and not what the blood desires.
Yes, yes, these these two souls within my chest.
Julian will respond, though, that as the blood has a mind of its own, do not forget that it comes from you.
Hmm. Two sides of a coin.
It's almost Jungian at times.
In time, it
Only
can
to
be.
those who have mastered the way.
I feel that the transformation, in a way, makes the id a living entity, not just simply a concept, not just simply the instincts that has been around for generations on generations. The blood gives it an actual mind and soul.
Does it? No one really knows. It has been an eternal mystery for our sect. What is the blood? What does it want? Does it want anything? Is it simply another aspect of the beast? Is it a part of ourselves? Is it where our pieces of our soul goes when we lose part of our humanitas? These are the questions that we will ask ourselves at some point or another.
It's sort of hard to get away from it. Then again, I can say from experience, I have seen mortals do plenty monstrous things.
Yes, but they do not have to worry.
But yeah, their sins don't come back to haunt them in quite the same fashion.
Their sins strike them from without, ours come from within. It is the fundamental conflict that humanity will never understand, not even those who do know of us.
Yeah. Then again, lot to do, lot to learn, lot to research.
Yes, you in particular, you in particular. I will send you Miss Thatcher's way,
Please do.
and I will watch your career with great interest.
Now you're really sounding like my old platoon sergeant.
Well, if you ever prove your worth as one of the sworn, perhaps you will see more of it. But alas,
Alas, I've been given a task, and at some point I should start preparing for it.
yes, your duties to the court await you for now.
Well, at least there's one thing I have aplenty now, and that's time.
Yes, time. Something we'll have, but do not take it for granted. It is very easy to lose.
Oh, just put it that way, just because I'm not that easily killable by disease and cold doesn't mean I'm indestructible. Don't worry, I'm fully aware of that.
More importantly, while we may have all the time until the heat death of the universe, that does not mean time cannot be wasted. It is a resource we always possess, but it is not something we can casually call upon. Make use of it well.
We shall see what we shall see. I take it that you're happy tolerating me in the Ordo territory as far as sustenance is concerned?
We are well satiated within our territories. The Prince and the Invictus have generally granted to us several territories that we may feed upon. And unlike many, we have kept our population well in check, so as to not invoke the practices of overfeeding that so many other covenants seem to be struggling with nowadays. Perhaps I'm merely making excuses for our lack of popularity. It is very easy to become trapped within one's echo chamber, I suppose. But there I go rambling again.
Yeah. I take it I would be overstepping my bounds if I would ask to borrow certain equipments for a more self-defensory purpose at this point.
Yes, you would be, Delphine says.
Then I shall not ask.
Very good. If that is all,
As far as I'm concerned, yes.
it was a pleasure to meet with you finally, Mr. Irons. I hope that you will be able to find your place once again among us, out of the long cold.
Agreed.
And with that, I think that would be a good place to end the scene. Daryl?
Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watch for watching. Have a good morning, evening, or night.